Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of What's Cooking. I'm Chad and I'm super excited because it's fall and fall means football. Today I've got one of my favorite tailgating recipes of all time, the tri-tip. What a beauty. If you've never heard of a tri-tip, it's from the rear of a steer. If you're looking at the back, you've got the round, the sirloin, and the flank, and right where they all meet comes this beautiful triangle piece of meat. So today, you can see I have two tri-tips here in front of me. These came with the fat cap on them. Depends on the butcher, but sometimes they'll take the fat cap off, sometimes they'll leave it on. Today, they left them on, so I'm gonna show you how to trim all this off, because really, you're not gonna bring this up to a brisket-like temperature of 200 plus, so it's not gonna render off. This is just really tough, grizzly fat. So we wanna get rid of as much of this as possible. So what you need is a really, really sharp knife. Today I'm using a Benchmade meat crafter. If you don't have a meat crafter, use a fillet knife, really sharp, kind of flexible knife. You can just start underneath the side of the fat, and when you're not trying to get any of the meat, you just start peeling it back. And it should come off pretty easily. It kind of comes off in chunks like this, as you can see. But as soon as you get down to the meat, you want to stop cutting there and just keep pulling it along. If you're having trouble with this, or if you cut one up and you don't have any success, throw it in the freezer for about an hour before you cut it, and it'll make this fat really hard instead of pillowy. But just keep trimming this along until it's all gone. You can see how it just pulls off like that. And this is why you need a really sharp knife to get underneath there. There's a little bit of silver skin. Keep trimming that. You can keep that fat. Do whatever you need with it. So just keep trimming this along. Again, sometimes it'll come with it, sometimes it won't, but you need to get rid of all this fat because it's just room for seasoning to go on. I'm gonna finish trimming these up and we'll come back for a seasoning in just a second. All right guys, I just got done trimming these up. As you can see, got most of the fat off the outside. Everything left here will be okay to go with, but as you can see on this piece of meat, and it's one of the most important things about tri-tip, is the grain. You can see these distinct lines in here. You want to make mention of this before you season it, because if you cake the seasoning on, you're not going to remember which way the grains go, and when you slice it, if you don't slice against the grain, it's going to be really, really tough. So always remember the direction of the grain with tri-tip. It's the most important thing. So today, I'm using one of my favorite rubs, Pit Happens. It's a little sweet, it's got a little heat, and it's got a little bit of pepper. So I'm going to take my oil, just a little bit of light oil here. You can use anything you have. This is light olive oil, but you don't want to use like a mustard or anything since you're not going to cook these very long. And that mustard flavor would stay. So just use a light oil, rub it on both sides. And then just get it nice and seasoned up. So this is that Pit Happens. Super good flavor. Tons and tons of pepper in it. It's nice and delicious. I'm gonna let this sweat out too before I put it on the smoker. Make sure you get the edges, just like a brisket. Think of this like a baby brisket. Right on the other side, you see that grain on there? Really distinct. You wanna remember that. So keep just kicking on your rub. As you can see, that pepper in there, just so good on beef. Make sure you get the edges. And that looks about good for that one. So we'll go to our smaller one over here. A little bit more oil. Rub that on. Pretty generous coating. If you don't like this much seasoning, I mean, you can use any seasoning you want. I've used the Meat Church Holy Cow, anything with a lot of pepper I really like on this red beef. So that's where it's at. Oh, oil. The more the merrier. Since you're not cooking this for 20 hours like a brisket, a lot of your flavors are going to come from this rub, so you want to make sure you get a really good coating on there. And then you want to let this sit before you put it on the smoker, because the longer you let it sit, the more moisture that salt's going to pull out of the meat. And when it goes on the smoker, the smoke's going to go right to that moisture, and it's going to just pull that flavor into the meat. So make sure you let it sit. These are looking pretty good for now. Again, check your edges, make sure that you have good coverage on the edges because you don't want any unseasoned spots. And once these sit, I'm gonna go fire up the smoker, get that going, 225 today. If you have a super smoke option, be sure to put that on, and we'll get these out on the smoker in about 15, 20 minutes. I've got the trigger on at 225 degrees, and we're gonna get these tri-tips on. And I'm also gonna throw my grill grates on right now. The grill grates I won't use until later, but those are really gonna get warmed up right now. And we'll get the tri-tips on. We're gonna bring them up to about 125 degrees. And once that's done, we're gonna pull them, crank the grill to 500 and get as hot as possible, get those grill grates seared, and then throw the tri-tips back on. We're gonna get them just seared up, get a nice crust on them, then we'll pull them, slice them, and serve. All right, guys, tri-tips are off the grill now. The grill grates got an awesome sear on them, so I'm excited to get into them and see how they look. The first thing I'm gonna do is really square up this end here. Like I said, the grain is really important in the tri-tip, so I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna cut it straight off. That's still good eating, but not for right now. I'm gonna square up the other side too so I have nice even sides. Perfect. Now, remember, against the grain, it's the most important thing when you're cutting a tri-tip. Oh boy. If this isn't delicious. Perfect sear. Oh, right here. This will change your life. Cut that in half, it's a little bit too much for you at once. If you don't like, subscribe, and comment after this, you're missing out.